Cool. So this is Never Knows Best, alpha playtest. And by alpha, I mean super alpha. It's the first ever playtest, and a lot of the tech in this is untested stuff in the PBTA space. So I'm not sure what to expect, but I think it is going to be fine. So I'm going to do cats real quick. Concept is that you will be playing middle schoolers confused and in the throes of adolescence, and your inner turmoil is abstracted into creatures or entities, and you turn into a robot in order to combat them. So they're sort of like the manifestations of these things that we're abstracting out, and then you pummel them. And since it's very much in the vein of anime, these things may or may not be actually happening, right? The fiction is sort of like an imaginative place on a meta level, as well as within your character's space as well. So it's meant to feel a little Monster Hearts, a little bit Masks, in such as the way of like combat mostly. I'm trying to go for a teamwork combat thing that we'll see if it works or not, because that'll be one of the main things that we're playtesting. I have a very drifted structure for fight together in this game, and I'm interested to see if it'll work in the PBTA space or not. So the aim in this alpha test is to make sure that the starting procedures generate enough fiction for us to latch onto for next session. I want to test out the core die mechanic for sure, and I want to see if the starting procedure also generates the dichotomy of the two themes that I'm going for in the game, which we'll get to when we get to the procedure. It'll be quite clear. The tone is, since it's teenage kids, it'll probably be angsty, and from the subject matter, it'll probably go from gonzo to like emotional. So probably similar to Monster Hearts, it's gonna be a little bit hectic and crazy, but also on a pendulum swing back to emotional moments. Probably is what I predict anyway. It also depends on kind of what the playbooks are chosen. Safety tools is we're going to use the X card, and we can put stuff behind lines if we want right now. I always do sexual assault right away. I don't think it would make sense at all in this game anyway for that to have happened, but just in case, no sexual assault in a middle schooler's game. Also, something that I've only recently become aware of is the schools in Canada versus you guys is quite different. Like you're for middle schoolers, for me, it's like grade 7 to 9 for us, and I think that's different for you guys, right?
Yeah, it's generally 6 to 8 for American.
Okay, yeah. So I'm thinking, as a general matter, I think everyone will be middle schoolers, but the age range will go from like probably 13 to like 15 years old. We'll just abstract it to age instead. What does that in New Zealand? Yeah, I don't even know. So, does anyone else have any lines that they would like to draw for subject matter?
I don't really want to see like violence to mundane animals on screen. The cuter they are, the worse it is, because I'm vapid, but whatever.
Sure, I think that's fair. Anyone else?
I don't want to see any sexual or romantic relationships between what we would consider children and what we would consider adults. Obviously, if we're talking like a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old, that's fine. But really that broken dynamic where the adults just has so much more emotional power is not okay with me.
Yeah, sure. That sounds good. Anything else? No? Cool. So for my next question, I was asked, does anybody know the major touchstone for this is FLCL or Fooly Cooly? Has anyone seen that anime before?
The original a long time ago, and I picked up random episodes of the recent run.
Oh yeah, right. The progressives or whatever it's called. Cool.
I saw bits and pieces of the original run when it came on, so I'm sort of aware genre and theme wise, but I never actually watched the whole thing.
Okay.
I was rewatching it last night. So.
You watched what?
I was rewatching the first couple of episodes last night.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I watched the first episode about a half hour ago.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. So
I've got to ask then, what do you think of only watching the first episode?
I think the part where at the very end where he's like, only mundane things happen here, and it's obviously not. I'm waiting for that to appear. Like that's what I'm interested in at this point. They've got weird characters and stuff like that, but I want to see what he means by mundane things happen here. So
yeah, are you watching the sub or the dub?
The sub, but it has both. I could flip to the dub if I wanted to.
The dub is actually better, I would say, in this one particular case, because yeah, it fits a lot better for colloquialisms for America for whatever reason. Like it was the first anime that was brought over specifically for a dub in America. It was like a landmark thing to have happened. They created a specific company only to license FLCL to bring it to Anime Swim or whatever it's called, Anime Adult Swim, I think it's called. Yeah, and then that was the first thing ported over. So it has the best dub of any anime, and then throughout history it goes down from there.
It was also the first Japanese DVD release that contained English subtitles on it. So
yeah, there you go. Boom. Cool. So what we're going for in this setup procedure is through FLCL, the reason why the fiction is so confusing and strange is it is an allegory for adolescence and puberty. Like the entirety of the fiction is meant to mean nothing at sometimes. And in fact, Fooly means nothing in the anime. They use it in different contexts and different sources, but it doesn't mean anything at all. And that's meant to be representative of the confusion that the character feels as they go. So we're going to be having a fiction that is going to be somewhat like that, in that the main things that I'm concerned with the fiction in this is your character arcs and the themes that we'll be injecting into it. That'll be sort of the through line of fiction. And then everything else, if it is incongruent and strange and adolescence and stuff like that, is completely fine. So it's sort of a little bit of an experiment, because a lot of times when I'm playing RPGs, that's kind of what ends up happening, because it's a collaborative group of people. So the fiction often ends up in these strange places anyway. So we'll see if that suits our needs naturally, or if I need to inject a particular procedure or mechanic to get that. But the first thing that we're going to set up is the town. And the town is a metaphor for the grown-up world and the adult worlds and societal pressures and stuff like that. And how we're going to navigate to that is by creating a physical thing in the town that specifically represents that. So in a broad sense, all of the town is like that to you middle schoolers, but we're going to have a very particular physical thing that is like that. So some of the options that I put is there might be like an automated factory in this town. There might be a research and development facility. There might be a hospital. There might be an energy plant or a farm, those types of things. In FLCL, you'll remember that it's a factory and it's shaped like a giant iron, right? I don't think we have to be that on the nose, but something like that. Does anyone have any particular leanings?
I thought off of those the energy plant sounded interesting.
Cool. Is everyone cool with that, or has a different idea or anything? Energy plant is go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm digging it.
Cool. Okay. And then, so how does the shape of the building telegraph that it is a symbol of the grown-up world to the players? To you as middle schoolers, what does this energy plant look like?
I think there's a bunch of, like, on the outside of the building, there's a bunch of wheels that look like hamster wheels that spin when the plant is active. Just a reminder of, the people, the adult life is just going around and round and round and not actually getting anywhere.
Right.
Hmm.
Cool. And so is it ostensibly so that these wheels are the thing that are generating the power as well? Or are these nonsensical wheels? Either is okay with me.
I'm going to let someone else answer that.
Sure.
I like nonsensical wheels with it being like a hydroelectric plant of some sort.
Sure. Yeah. So the wheels, like, there might be a river going through town or something, but the wheels aren't even on it, but yet it's built as a hydroelectric thing.
Yeah.
Cool. I like that as well. What does it do to make it feel like this town exists apart from the rest of the world? Choose all that apply. So some of the options, and we can always, like all PBTA, these are not restrictive lists. They're just helpful things. So if you think of something else, feel free to say something. But there's the typical FLCL one. It emits smoke that covers the town. So in FLCL, you'll notice in the anime whenever anybody smokes, it's like a symbol of the adult world. Like when Mamimi, his friend, smokes, she's trying to be like an adult. And every time something strange happens in town, the plant has like a siren that goes off. And at the end of the episode, it generates smoke that covers the world. And then it seems like nothing has happened, right? Something like that. Light pollution blocks the stars. The building is along the only entrance and exit to town. They own most of the buildings in town. Their logos are everywhere. They have a secret agenda only adults understand. It has no clear entry or exit points. They control the newspapers or information, I guess. Is there particular things that people are gravitating towards for those?
Well, for us, potentially one could be noise. If like there's these big hamster wheels going and stuff, right? Like ambient white noise that blocks out other sounds of life.
Sure. Let me write these.
I like their logos are everywhere.
What is the logo, you think?
I like an adorable hamster logo.
Yeah. We're soft and cuddly. You should like us in your town.
Could we have a hamster mascot for the town?
Sure. And I'm sure in school, hey. It's an energy plant.
I also like the sort of mystery, can't understand the adult world feel. If they have a secret agenda only adults understand. Just this like weird branded hamster club that we're not a part of exactly.
Right. So what is the loud sound, Lauren?
I was thinking kind of like the sound of generation, like sort of mechanical,
Like the sound of
whirring,
like power lines and stuff like that?
yeah, buzzing.
Cool.
I also like the idea that there's this constant squeaking that just is pervasive through the entire town.
Mm-hmm.
There's a constant what?
Speaking.
Squeaking, like the wheels turning.
Oh, okay. Sounds like an annoying place. Cool. Okay, so I got it is loud, like buzzing, like power lines. There's hamster logos are cute and everywhere. There's a secret agenda. Only adults understand. The wheels are squeaking. And what else did we have? I missed something when I was typing.
Oh, the corporate logo.
Yeah, the hamster logos. They are cute and everywhere.
That was it.
Cool. Okay.
Oh, so one last thought, and I'm okay with that not being what we want, but instead of they control the newspapers, maybe they control the education system.
Sure. Like
Like
they
they know
built
what-
the school or something, or
and they choose the textbooks and stuff.
oh, okay.
Yeah, like branded corporate learning.
Yeah.
Cool. I like that. All right. For establishing our counterculture, that's what we have the PCs for. So I've written absurdism is central to the fiction. This will that we will create because it is also in contribution to the metaphor of adolescence, rooted in the imagination. I kind of already went over that. On a meta level, yeah, so on a meta level, what we want to try to do is inject a theme of counterculture along with your players. So you'll be butting kind of up against these ideas and the nonsensical nature of the rules of society and growing up and adolescence and stuff like that. So in FLCL, for the people, how that is represented is all the like essentially what the director did was put all the things that he thought was cool when he was in middle school or a teenager and injected it to the fiction, which is why it's like kind of a chaotic mess, right? Like instead of fighting with swords and stuff, they fight with basses or guitars. Like if you're the protagonist in the FLCL, then you have a guitar, and if you're not, then you have a bass, right? There's like these strange rules to the fiction of it. And like the reason why the alien woman has a Vespa is because he thought it was cool when he was a kid and he always wanted a Vespa. So think about that kind of stuff in your own adolescence, the things that you think were cool, and then let's have those injected as themes towards the counterculture that you'll be using. And to get there, beyond even this procedure, everybody, when you make your playbook, you have a bedroom, and the bedroom should be reflective of what your kid is like the things that they like are shown in this bedroom. And as they change as a person in the fiction, what we open on each episode will be a room, and if it's changed or not, or if it's the same and stuff like that. So the material kind of goods that you're able to accrue as a middle schooler is actually somewhat important in it, because it's your your grounding for your ability to like co-opt the things that you're given by your parents and stuff like that, and use it against this seemingly pervasive town. And it's especially now that I guess we know that they have a secret agenda only adults understand, it's quite important. So the question posed is, when you were that age, what did you think was cool, and what of these items do you want to become representative of the reoccurring theme within the fiction? Anything at all?
Because I'm actually think I'd like to go a little bit older when I was cool, because when I was that young, honestly, I don't think I thought anything was cool. I was such a dork. But when I was older, definitely things like brightly dyed hair, chains for no purpose, spikes, that sort of industrial punk sort of thing. Everything distressed, falling apart, that sort of thing.
I was very much going to agree for like young me, and for the polar opposite of cute corporate hamster, it would be that like Hot Topic goth aesthetic. Black and chains and too many pockets and weird spikes and odd colors, and yeah.
And everything is cooler if you didn't buy it new. Like if you got it at a thrift store or if you made it yourself, it's like 100 times cooler than if you went to a store and bought it.
Yeah, DIY goth.
Mm-hmm. Like chains for no purpose. It's a good line.
I may have had a hardware store chain belt.
Okay. Mark or Lauren? Any particular?
I was never cool.
And what did you think was cool? Right, you didn't have to be cool.
Oh God.
In this game, perception is everything.
I don't know. Jesus, I thought this was a very deep look into what I was doing as a child.
I loved your Tamagotchi suggestion.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Tamagotchi in there?
Yeah, Tamagotchis were the bomb. I made my dad take it to work because they banned them in my school, so he could keep it alive while I was learning and studying. Much to his chagrin. I was super into classical music as a kid.
Okay.
Super into cello and space. I thought space was pretty cool.
Yeah. I think classical music is interesting because this whole cute corporate logo thing and classical music being the counterculture means that the adult world is very fluffy poppy music, but you or we understand the deep intellectual emotional meaning behind classical music that the adults just don't get or whatever. That's sort of an interesting reversal.
I think it also goes with the counterculture of not buying new things. We're not going into the mass marketed music. We're going back and we're recycling the old music.
Oh, I like that a lot.
Yeah, everyone's got that George Winston and D action going on.
Oh my God, we totally have battles beating each other up with symphonic instruments.
Oh, totes.
And this works for me because I was thinking of playing, being a character who, instead of associating with a guitar, associates with an accordion.
Oh, I love it.
Good. Any other imagery?
So, to be honest, very little of that fits me.
Sure. Yeah. So what do you think? Let's get some market here.
Well, so one thing, like the idea about music being important. One of the things that I really like, one of my most distinct memories was finding out that my favorite video game had a soundtrack you could buy, and that kind of blew my mind. And like, I wanted to save up the $60 that it cost to get this 3-disc set that went with my favorite video game. So I liked video games and music and stuff like that.
You want a
And
particular kind of music as well, like on top of the classic one?
yeah, I mean, so uh, like 16-bit music was a thing.
Yeah, the MIDIs, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I know what you're talking about.
And I hate to admit this on a recording, but when I was a kid that age, what was really cool was shoplifting. So I'll just throw that out there.
I think that's pretty much always a thing, right? Yeah. Like I don't think you guys have Max in America, but it's like I think like 7-Eleven or something. The 7-Eleven by my high school and junior high, they hired a security guard every lunch break. It got so bad. So we were very intricate in our ways. Lots of signaling and lots of decoys and things like that. It wasn't the best neighborhood, PS. So yeah, shoplifting's always cool.
So I sort of like the idea with the music that there is this like particular vanilla cutesy fluffy music that is the adult genre, but like there's different obsessions with different more real, more grounded, different musical genres, and sort of like if it's your classical or if it's the video game soundtracks, like immersing yourself in that, having that music sort of changes the world around you, creates a different reality for you to slide through this like cute toxic corporate culture thing.
Okay.
Any sense?
So what would we say? What do you want to say for the imagery of that?
I don't know. I just see it as like whatever your idiosyncratic genre is, like it changes the aesthetic of the world around you in a sort of bubble. Like you can push back against the adult world and change the aesthetics to like electronic, sort of pixelated, or like it goes goth and industrial around you instead of bright and clean, or like yeah, everything goes like fancy and Victorian, or like sort of historical for classical or stuff like that.
Okay.
Oh, like how the world flashes when the video game goes into a fight scene. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's sort of cool.
Yeah, like when the fight music starts, then the entire world turns into like a Victorian classical music, big old dresses and suits and stuff like that. That would be kind of neat. Yeah.
I'll put Scott Pilgrim.
That's it.
Cool.
Actually, so now I'm picturing we turn into robots in Victorian garb.
If you want to. You can do whatever you want in your robot. I won't take anything away from you. Victorian robot steampunk thing, if you'd like. So I've got under counterculture, chains for no purpose, spiky hair, distress looks, hot topic goth aesthetic, do-it-yourself, Tamagotchis, classical music / cello, 16-bit MIDI, music, video games, shoplifting, space, appropriation of aesthetic, and Scott Pilgrim. Is that good?
That sounds insane and also amazing.
Yeah. And then towards what I just put mainstream, loud and buzzing power lines, hamsters are cute, and the logos are pervasive. There is a secret agenda that only adults understand. The wheels are squeaking. They own and build the school with corporate indoctrination learning. Does that all sound good to everybody? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So next is to create your characters. So each one, I have like a kind of like Monster Hearts breakdown before each one. And they each have starting questions on them as well, which will be another thing that we're playtesting, see if those kind of get the job done or not. And let's see. Did people have a chance to look at the playbooks? And if so, is there anyone that people A, really want, or B, do not want at all?
I like the last three. I really like the peripheral and the analog, but I could also see doing the contained.
Anyone else?
I'm reading them right now.
Sure. I can't wait to buy art for this as well, because after being on Pinterest, I'm like, none of you have what I'm looking for.
What's it missing that you're looking for?
Just like, I don't want to go so far as to say like Geiger-esque, but like weird robots, like
Ooh.
I want them to be you transforming into robots that are whatever you like, but not intensely synonymous with what we see. Like FLCL ones is cool because like the robot has like a TV set. Because that was like when he was a kid, that was the thing that was cool, is having a TV. It was like brand new. That's in his time. So I like the idea of having the kids being able to project the things that they think are cool within their robots, which will hopefully lead to some like really interesting designs of robots and stuff like that. And when I use Pinterest to find stuff like that, it's either A, mecha, or B, just sort of like samey robots they all kind of just look like Power Rangers, basically. So, yeah, it's hard to find kind of like interesting ones. It's even hard to find middle schooler art. Like it's either super sexualized stuff or it's like the opposite, where they kind of like say that they're in middle school, but they look like they're sort of like ageless, timeless anime people with school uniforms on. And they're like middle schoolers, but they're like, it's like one of those things where you're watching a high school show and they don't look like they belong in high school.
That guy's 30.
Yeah. Manga has a weird thing with that as well, except they usually look a lot younger, or yeah, it goes one way or the other. They either way, they're not middle schoolers. They're like elementary school or adolescence, far off in.
Sometimes in the same series, you get that.
Yep. They like switch artists or something, and they're like, and now they're 18. So, yeah. Yeah, so some of the Pinterest stuff is just the aesthetic that I like, but it doesn't match the tone or the age of the characters even, and stuff like that. So it's just hard hunting for pins in particular for this game.
Yeah, I mean, this obviously isn't the right age, but for aesthetics, this is just an amazing picture that I found for an accordion player.
Yeah, that's a cool aesthetic. Yeah, like FLCL is rooted in the sort of like Beatles, Jimi Hendrix, that kind of music. So I like that we're off of that and more onto like classical and stuff like that. It's neat, especially since I could totally picture the school piping in the next like whatever pop song is really happening at the moment or whatever, right? The samey pop songs. The Britney Spears of the whatever is happening now.
I was kind of imagining K-pop being
Or K-pop, yeah. Yeah, K-pop is super manufactured, so that's a similar thing. I like how the K-pop groups to the point where like they all have roles within the actual group too to fulfill. So there's like an actual formula that they just like apply to each different group. I saw that Unexplained episode on K-pop on Netflix. It's really good. Should check that out. I did not know anything about K-pop apparently until I watched that Unexplained episode, or Explained. It's explained because they explain it to you. Yeah. Cool. So Mark likes the bound. Lauren likes anchor bound contained.
I think since the emotions of all of these seem very, very thick and I haven't had a chance to digest, what I'm going to do is let everyone pick, and then I'm going to just kind of randomly pick one and then dive into the emotions of that and really focus on that rather than try to like do quick understandings of what each playbook is about and making a choice on that, just because they're kind of a lot to take in.
Yeah. That's fair. Okay. So okay, Lauren, so which ones do you want? It's kind of hard to parse.
All of them. No, I'm really digging the anchor proxy and peripheral. I think the ones.
Okay. And Mark, you're particularly into the bound? Any other ones?
I just figured I'd find one and go with it.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good. So you're going to take the bound?
Yeah. Not because I don't think the other ones aren't cool or interesting, but just to make a choice.
Yeah, sure. No, that sounds good. And Patrick, is there anything you need to duke out, Lauren, for?
I like the analog and the peripheral. I feel like given our sort of world and music obsession, we should have a peripheral in the game, whether it's me or you, Lauren. You have a particular strong leaning?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you go for gold in the peripheral if you want the peripheral.
Okay, cool. I'll do that one then.
Cool. So then, is David, are you the only one who hasn't picked then?
Yeah, sorry. Which ones have been picked?
Peripheral, bound, And Laura, what did you pick?
I might go for the proxy.
Okay.
So it kind of sounded like the anchor is a bit of the opposite of the proxy, but the anchor didn't really like. I'm not sure if I really want to play just a character who's longing for someone else. So I think that leaves what, the analog and the contained. Let's do the analog.
Okay. Analog. Cool. Sounds good. Okay, so one thing I don't have here yet because I haven't decided on what icons I want. You just pick one move along with each thing, and you can pick any one move. There's not a particular one.
So Fraser, can you talk about, because I didn't quite understand the concept of good versus bad traits and repressed versus unrepressed and where all that comes from and what it means.
Yeah, sure. So the personality traits that are what you'll be rolling with each time is the traits and labels. And that's the major thing that we'll be testing out now. There's 2 things in there that start already, but you can change them. They're just like what might be typical for this character to kind of give you like a idea right off the bat of what they might be like. And when you're rolling, you're going to pair what you're doing in the fiction with a trait and a label. And after you create your characters, you're going to be placing a label on each of your other characters after they introduce them. And it's just how you see them, just like in high school, right? So it's a subjective thing to you. It doesn't have to mean that that's exactly how they are, but it also means in the fiction, you can play into the label or try to get rid of it with other moves and stuff. When you take distress, which is kind of like the damage in this game, you can choose to not take distress and instead repress it into a bad trait. But you can only take so many repress so many bad traits. Otherwise, when you hit the overflow mark, the 4 kind of like harm in this game, you must transform. And when you do, the bad stuff gets out. So kind of like in FLCL when like the kid is repressing some bad things, and when he freaks out, that good robot comes out of his head, but also the bad robot that the robot fights comes out of his head. So that's where it's going with that. After you make your character, you also put 1 good repressed trait, and that becomes part of your hit points when you transform into a robot. So you're sort of like trying to prove yourself right about what that trait might be. And if you do, then it becomes a permanent personality trait. So it's sort of like a cycle, basically.
So the repressed traits, good or bad, are basically just waiting there for you to robot freak out mode, and then they come out to play?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and they might inform what you look like as a robot in that particular time as well.
Okay, so the robot form is fluid from like instance to instance?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So for now, I would pick a move, do your name, eyes, look, fear, get that basic stuff done. Think about what your room might look like. And then once everybody has that, then I think we'll leap into the traits together.
So it looks like the bound ought to take the mission. Do I take just that move?
Let's see, bound. You don't have to take that right away, but yeah. It depends if you want to play into that right away or not.
Because they're like a lot of the moves mention the mission. which is fine. I wanted to check with you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Maybe I will make that playbook to have the mission as the starting one then maybe.
Okay.
That would make sense.
Do you mean to take it, or do you mean to try something else?
Yeah, maybe take the mission.
Okay.
And I had a question on the peripheral.
Mm-hmm.
On the trait, it's the only one that only has one trait listed instead of two. Is that intentional?
Yeah, the starting questions you'll make another.
Gotcha.
I
Cool.
believe. Yeah, the first question.
And I didn't want to take this because people love it in every Powered by the Apocalypse World game. But honestly, your version of it sounds so amazing. I think I have to take it. So I think my move's going to be Conduit.
For which one?
The analog.
Oh yeah.
It's basically your version of Things Speak.
Yeah.
And it's so popular. It always shows up in so many Powered by the Apocalypse World games. But holy crap, this version of it sounds really cool.
Yeah, I hope so. That was my similar feelings on it before. A lot of people use it and it gets kind of monotonous.
Yeah. I mean, the stuff with shaping the world did sound really interesting. And I just don't know a lot of how that would play out. And that's what I kind of wanted to do, but I'm like, oh, but Conduit sounds so cool.
Yeah, no worries. Sounds like I'll make a note about Mark's playbook there though, because I think he's right that his should probably start with that. The bound. Cool. Learns quick.
Are we just choosing our move right now?
Yeah, and your name, eyes, look, fear, and maybe think about what your room looks like and stuff, and then we'll do the starting questions and traits and stuff like that together, because I think that'll be the most confusing part. Any other questions or anything either, Patrick?
No, I think I'm sort of ready to go.
Cool. Hey, Mark, I was thinking too, do you think it might be good for your playbook to start with the mission and choose a different playbook? Or not, or and choose another move?
Like a second move? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think so, because the first one doesn't give you too much to do. It just gives you the actual mission, right?
Right.
So, yeah, maybe have your mission and then some way to interact with it, or a different move as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know I'm slowing things down, but I apologize.
Oh, no worries.
I'll be back again.
Maybe I'll see if somebody has a mask character keeper that I can cannibalize for this. Because mask has the labels thing too, right? So if I am able to make that column again somehow and make traits and labels, then that would probably be good for bookkeeping for this.
Okay. I think I'm ready. I might need to do more for my room, but I've got a pretty creepy start, which is always a good sign.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Once people are done up to that, then we'll do starting questions, sort of round table thing, and then do traits, and then should be good. But before that, we could. Do people need a bathroom break or anything like that? We're at like the hour and a little bit.
Not now, but maybe in an hour. I may want to grab a snack or something.
Well, I usually do one on every hour anyway. I don't
Okay.
know what other people do, but it's just how I do. But I didn't want to go on break when Mark was gone. I would come back if he got. So, are people good with taking 5 minutes? Come back at 10? Yeah? Cool.
Lauren, have you guys already gone over your characters while I was away?
No,
Oh, okay.
you're all good.
Okay. I have this idea, but I'm not sure if it's going to be supported or work well.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it'll be fine. We're here to support you.
Okay.
I mean, it's a playtest, so this finds out, hey, what concepts work, what doesn't. If it doesn't work, how do we guide people away from concepts that don't work?
Thanks.
Hello.
Hilda.
Cool. Sweet. So I think what might work best is having a person introduce their character and then do starting questions. And after the starting questions, then the other characters can put a label on them. I think that would be the easiest procedure, but we'll see. Might be a little harrowing for you, though. We'll see. Does anyone want to go first? Dun, dun, dun.
I guess I can go first.
Sounds good.
Sorry, just putting in the label real quick. Let me also grab these questions so I can record my answers easily and not forget things. So do I answer these questions or do other people answer these questions?
For your starting questions,
Yeah,
you answer them yourself.
I answer them myself. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you relate to machines and do you relate machines and electronics to people? Where does your curiosity stem from?
Well, do you want to start with the name, eyes, look?
Oh, sure thing. Yeah, so my name is Jackson. I have a comfortable look, gunmetal eyes, and my fear is an identity crisis.
Cool. Do you have comfortable? Is that like you're wearing sweatpants and stuff, or like what is?
I haven't found a solid picture touchstone. One in the Pinterest does look a little interesting, but I think when I get a chance, I'm going to do some more Google Food to see if I can find something better. But I'm thinking, clothes are vaguely loose. Plenty of pocket space. Very, very like utilitarian in that they're there to make my life comfortable. Probably dress in layers, so that way if I get cold or hot, I can just adjust. Nothing fancy or flashy or anything like that.
Cool.
So do you relate to machines and electronics to people? Where does your curiosity stem from? I think kind of. I think it's the sort of thing where machines have an obvious purpose and everyone around me seems to know what their purpose is, and I have no idea what my purpose is. So I kind of think that other people are like machines in that perspective, and I'm not, but I'm trying to get there.
Cool.
And then you have a bad trait that is repressed and is rooted in your relationship to technology and robots. What is it? Do I choose this, or does the rest of the group choose this?
You choose that. All of the starting questions is just
Okay.
you. I just want other people to hear it so that it'll be easier to label you.
Okay. A bad trait that is rooted in my relationship to technology and robots. I guess, meandering.
Sure.
Or just kind of not having, not being very direct and not being very purposeful and stuff.
Sure.
And have you always served as an analog for something else, or did something happen in your life that altered you in the manner? Analog is strange. They're powerful in their ability to can emulate others. I think that that the world and my peers changed on Jackson without Jackson really noticing. And then one day he's like, "Oh wow, I'm really different." Like, he used to be like a normal kid who played with toys and everything, and he, kept on collecting toys and kept on doing it. And other people are now like, these are the like awesome things, and we're cool, and we're kind of growing up. And Jackson's like, "Oh, well, what happened to me?" So he was just kind of like the kid who was left behind in growing up.
Well, you might hit your growth spurt soon, right?
Yeah, well, I think physically he's probably like grown just fine. It's like that mental, like that more of like societal place thing. He hasn't really grown into, grown and changed in that way.
Cool. Okay. Interesting. So, yeah, do people think it would be easiest to put a label on Jackson now, or would people prefer to go around, introduce their characters, do the starting questions, and then do labels at the end for everything? It might be hard to remember all the things, though, if we do that.
Yeah, I think doing it now is best for my memory.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so why don't you each put a label on Jackson, and that is just subjectively how you see them. And then in play, Jackson will be able to play up these labels or get rid of them if Jackson doesn't like them, depending on the move that they trigger with.
Childish.
Are these meant to be positive or negative in any particular way?
Whatever you want. It's mostly the primary like relationship between you and the character, like how you see them. So it can even be like stereotypical things like jock or like nerd and stuff like that, or it can be something a little bit more personal or emblematic of some of the things that they said with those starting questions and stuff as well, right? It's probably going to be usually how you end up treating them.
Oh, should I talk about what my thoughts on the room were?
Sure.
Would that be helpful?
That might be good, yeah.
So Jackson has a small room that floor to ceiling is covered with shelves with mostly with mechanical toys, mostly wind-up toys, all facing towards whoever's in the room. And if he ever has a visitor, they randomly like click and chatter.
Scary, maybe. Cool. So you have childish already, right?
Was that okay?
That's from Mark, yeah.
So does everyone give me a label then?
Yeah, everyone gives you a label, yeah.
I think skills, but with a Z at the end.
Skills.
I think you mean Zed.
I do not.
Okay. Lauren?
I think I'm going to go with Lona.
Cool.
So I'm a childish loner with skills.
Yeah. It's eclectic, which is good too, because it's meant to be subjective so that when you go to do a role in the system, you can play up the whatever label and trait that you want in order to get your modifier. So the fact that they're eclectic is good for you, right? Because if they pigeonhole you, then it's harder to play up a specific label. Cool. Who wants to go next? Lauren? Oh, it looks like Patrick saved you.
I can go. Yeah. So I'm doing the peripheral, and his name is Laszlo. I did not actually type. There we go. And that's not what I want either. None of this is working right. I do have a picture though. Let's see. But he's very like he's 14. He's like just discovered Hot Topic. Like his parents, he finally badgered them into letting him dye his hair. What is happening? Oh my god, kill me. Sorry, I'm having problems with copying things. There we go. Fuck you, internet. But yeah, all like black and spikes and dyed hair. He's very cool. He's got vinyl eyes, which like if you stare close enough, you can sort of see the grooves spinning, and his pupils are like black around them and then colored in the center rather than black pupils. Look is obviously trendsetter. Like this is how everybody's going to be dressing soon. This is how all the cool kids dress. And then my fear is repressed memories. So let's see. Starting questions. What type of music do you listen to? Make a good trait that represents that in your personality. So I think he likes listening to and playing around with like experimental electronica, but that's like sampling classical music and like classical instruments rather than sort of old pop rock songs or hip hop or anything like that. Maybe experimental is a trait. All right. And then you have a reason for shutting out the world. Create a bad trait that is repressed to represent this, keeping it to yourself, so choose and teasing it out with fast forward. So do I talk about that at all, or?
Oh, secret.
Okay.
Not this one.
All right. All right. I have an idea for that. And then someone else also shuts out the world, but with another coping mechanism. Who are they and what is it? Is this another PC?
It could be, or you could make an NPC as well too. Whatever you want.
So my character is sounding kind of bit like your character, my concept. So if you wanted to choose me, I would be okay with that. Just
okay. Like what's similar? What do you think a coping mechanism here would be?
For coping mechanism for dealing with the world.
Yeah, it's how you shut out the world.
How I shut out the world. And what was your coping mechanism?
Mine is this music. Like I put on my headphones and I get lost in this world of music and I just sort of ignore everything that's going on around.
Okay. Well, to steal from Fooly Cooley, I guess I could just go to the bridge and smoke cigarettes. So.
Okay. So smoking, and you have like a particular personal place.
Yeah.
And what's your character's name?
Felix.
Felix. All right, cool. And then for my starting move, the one that made the most sense, because it's sort of like central to a lot of the others, is pause. So I have an item that's always on your person that allows you to shut out the world and hear music. Headphones, earbuds, something like that. So I think it's like an iPod and like really big ear cup earphones with like wire and armature, sort of like 70s hi-fi sound masterpiece sort of thing, that he hooks into the iPod.
Is it an old iPod? Or
Oh yeah. Like it's beat up and scratched. It's like first generation iPod. He can't turn off the clicking when he turns the wheel anymore.
Nice.
The earphones, do they actually have antennas coming out of them?
Ooh, that's cool. I like that.
Because if you're going with 70s, might as well go the full-on radio headphones.
I think you're lucky you're the trendsetter, because if you weren't, get beat
Hey,
up a
I
lot.
make this work. When you put them on, you cannot take distress. Instead, if I would take distress, I get a label instead. And if I would get to overflow, it doesn't actually happen until I take the item off, until I take the headphones off. And then I imagine shit goes crazy.
Indeed. You might say that when you take them off, it could be like, I don't know, a golden opportunity.
So his room is very like, I am black and emo and I feel all of the feels and I can't handle colors because they're just too much emotions, and that's not me. So it's like blackout curtains, and his closet is very much like when you open it, all you see are like the sort of uniform black outfits, but pushed to the back is all of his like jeans and t-shirts and regular clothes that like his parents had bought him, and he keeps trying to ignore them, push them to the back of the closet. And I think all over the walls there are like these drawings he's done where he's like he experiments with actual instruments, but also just sort of like thought experiments because he doesn't have a lot of classical instruments to rip apart and put electronics into. But that's sort of what he's doing, is he's like disassembling instruments and rewiring them with electronics, and he has like a beat up laptop that he sort of samples things through. And then obviously the big like cabinet with the built-in speakers and all wood finishing, all in one unit LP vinyl player that's like vintage and reworked and looks totally out of place because it's this like warm, cheery wood color where everything else is dark and black and monochrome.
Patrick, I do have a response to this. Fucking APEP.
A little bit, yeah.
Sorry, I had to reference another game. Lord.
Yeah, that's from our Wicked and Divine game there. I think that's everything. That's my starting questions. That's my move and stuff. So labels?
Yeah, label.
I am going to go with secure.
Secretive.
You know what? I'm going to feel free to veto this, but I think it could be interesting. Jovial.
Yeah, I can play into that. I think especially with you, like I don't have a broader tech interest and expertise like you do, but we do connect on a lot of those like computer electronic sort of levels. So I think you see me get excited about things like that, where
Yeah.
everywhere else I'm trying to like hold it together and be cool and goth and shit.
I mean, this was totally a player decision. I'm like, you know what? I'd like to, I think it'd be cool to, not just have the classic always gloomy goth and, give you a reason to be like upbeat sometimes.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Cool. All the labels. Cool. Who else wants to go? Who doesn't want to be last?
I could go.
Lauren, you want to be last, don't you?
I don't mind.
I'll go as if it's okay with you.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Okay. So when I looked at my character's list of things that I could be, like my look and my eyes and my fear and all this stuff, this theme well, okay. So Felix, I chose alien look, unnatural eyes, and a fear of being unlovable. So I immediately went with like what we were talking about with other things, like went towards like a vampire kind of feel. And I just don't know like how you want me to deal with that. Like, am I one? Do I want to be one? Like, what would you be okay with there? Or is that just completely off base and I should make a new character, which is fine by me?
I think there's room for something like that. It's supposed to be like a gonzo anime type fiction anyway. So, I mean, like in FLCL, there's a literal alien. So,
Yeah, also, like, we have the whole Victorian classical music aesthetic, so that whole, like, gothic vampire look would fit in perfectly, whether you are or not, but I'm also cool with magic weird vampire shit.
Okay. I didn't know where I fit in with genre tropes, and so I just didn't want to be like, I'm going to be a vampire, and everybody's just like, oh god, he made a vampire.
no, that's fine.
So I've got a picture I found, and I will put that in the group. Okay. I'm the one on the left. Felix is kind of androgynous with giant eyes and is just a vampire wannabe, and they are selfish and obsessed. That's their traits. And let's see here. It says I have a secret agenda. So is this another one of those things where I don't tell everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to write it down here.
You could tell people in play, but I think having a little air of mystery is okay at the beginning.
All right. So I've written that down. Create a label that is emblematic of this pursuit. PCs can change it at disadvantage, and it's nigh impossible for an NPC. So I'm going to go with the label of morbid. And my room is filled with posters of bands that do metal / classical music. And I've got vampire manga, and sort of like what Laszlo has. So I have some really old giant speakers, and I really, really want to be able to like turn them on and pump the music up, but my family never will let me do it. So I've got some headphones, and so I just kind of sit next to the speakers and imagine that they're really loud. And like they're tiny earbud headphones, and it's a miracle mess of wires that connects them somehow to this speaker system that was never meant to output to, little tiny earbud headphones. So it looms over me when I listen to it. Alrighty, my questions, which I haven't had a chance to read yet. Let's take a look at them. Are you obfuscating or conflating something else in your life with the importance of your mission?
I'm getting some. David, can you mute yourself?
Oh, sure.
I think there's some echo. Yeah. Hello.
Test.
Yeah,
Test.
that's better. I
Okay.
think. Yeah.
Am I obfuscating or conflating something else in my life with the importance of your mission? I think I've got a disease that is one of those ones where it's like you may live to 16 and you may live to 30, or you may die at any moment, kind of thing. Does that work? Yeah. Okay. Something came between me and my mission. What happened? Create a bad trait that is the remnants of the fallout from that conflict. Wow, I do not know.
That's fine. That's one you could think about, maybe.
Okay.
That's a heavy one at the beginning.
How would someone looking at me know that my mission is important to me? And am I wearing anything that symbolizes something about me other than the mission? So 2 parts to that. Let's see. How would someone looking at you know that your mission is important to you? When I'm on my when I'm like working towards my mission, like I don't smile. Like I've got a very serious face when all that's going on. I'm gonna write that down. Okay. And am I wearing anything that symbolizes something about me other than the mission? Yeah, I'll just go classic. I'll have like a rosary, and I'll say that religion is important to me too. So okay, people can give me my labels now. I have
What was it that you were afraid of as well? Your fear?
my fears being unlovable.
Unlovable. Thanks.
So, I loved your whole like speaker setup, and in a game that's like Scott Pilgrimy about the weird magic powers of music, I like the Chekhov's gun of these giant ass speakers that aren't used, like the sort of explosive potential there. So I like Untapped as a label.
Untapped. Okay.
So we don't know exactly what your mission is, just
Nope.
that you seem to be obsessed about it.
Yeah. And I guess a serious face. I guess serious face.
I'm gonna go with Stern.
Stern.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to see a label that that pulls you back into a group and like something about you interacting with others. Leader.
Like a liter of blood? LITER?
No. Bad pun. Good job.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
If you don't feel comfortable with it, I can come up with something else.
If I don't feel comfortable with it, I'm sure there are ways to address that in the game. So
Yep. There's some moves where you can be like trying to get rid of a label, kind of like conditions with Monster Hearts, where you're like, don't like that. Except some labels can help you in this game too. What? It's different. So are you good?
I think I've thought of my second question's
cool.
answer.
Mhm.
So something became between you and your mission before. What happened? I was caught trespassing, so I have a juvenile record. Does that work?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, what kind of trait would come out of that kind of thing?
Are you worried about like becoming like is that a stain upon you since you're religious?
Yeah, I like that. Stained.
Cool.
And that's a trait, or it says bad trait, but
it'd be repressed. Yeah, I just didn't put repressed there. I think
repressed. Okay.
Yeah. So it's something that comes out of you when you transform into a robot.
Okay.
You'll have to deal with that one way or
Gotcha.
another. Cool.
Okay. Then yes, I think I'm done.
Cool. Lauren, it's your turn.
Finally. So in terms of identity, I'm going for Kit, who is she, her.
Like KIT?
KIT, yes. And her look is rather immature. She probably wears a lot of way too oversized t-shirts. Like she probably fits into like a small medium, but she wears like a lot of L and XL. And some of them are probably like that, like the hamster logo or something like that kind of thing, or other various like cartoon characters. So I think like she's a bit like awkward and uncomfortable in her own body. Is like she's sort of turning 13, 14 and growing up, and she's like really not ready to address like what it means to have like an adult body for sure. So she tries to sort of hide it in like this sort of immature clothing. Her eyes are quite prying. She's probably a bit snoopy and nosy. And her fear is cowardly. Like she doesn't want to have missed opportunities and like let life kind of happen to her rather than sort of like acting upon the world kind of thing. I think that's her biggest fear. Her do I do traits next? Or I could
Yeah, if you want to. You can say what your traits are, sure.
I have flexible and audacious. Do I pick one?
No, you have both, but with all of the traits, you guys can change them. Those are just
oh, cool.
Yeah, those are just things that are probably feeding into like the playbook's moves and stuff.
Awesome. So flexible and audacious. Her room contains, I wrote like just a massive laundry list of shit, so apologies. It has like a real, I think it's probably like quite a small-ish room, but it's just like crammed with stuff, because she just likes to keep things and hoard things, and like has physical like mementos of her life and family and friends and stuff. So she has like a real dusty Casio keyboard, like not a real cheap Casio keyboard, like it's kind of a nice-ish Casio keyboard, on a stand like in the corner of her room. I think she has a lot of sheet music everywhere. Some of it she's penned herself, some of it she's like probably printed at school, using her precious pocket money to print off like sheet music. There are a lot of horror movie posters around her room as well. And I think like old soccer participation awards like on the wall as well. I think though they're old because I think she's kind of given up sport, because sport's quite, while she really enjoys it, I think she has a kind of hang-ups about being quite tomboyish and it being kind of a masculine thing. And I think that she's kind of like is experimenting with femininity and sort of growing up and what it means to like take on like womanhood. And I think to that purpose as well, like she probably has some on her desk table like unopened makeup that I think she's stolen from the like a local store mall place as well. So that's her room. Yeah, shoplifting is totally cool. Oh, and she for sure has a massive cello, like hard cello case in her room as well. With it's a hard cello, like really beat up like old cello case, because also distressed for purpose things are totally cool as well. And that's her. Oh, do I need to do anything else?
Your questions.
Yeah, questions.
Yeah. Okay. So what attracts you to the adult world? I've been tossing up what this is. I'm kind of torn between like freedom and like romance. I think those are two things that I'm really tossing up. I'll go with romance. That one sounds fun because it's not a game unless I'm making out with people. What bad trait do you foster? Do you do so knowingly or otherwise? I think she's I think she's quite possessive. It's just,
this will go into your repressed bad trait too. I think I wrote these questions before I separated the traits.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I think it sort of manifests in like all of her shoplifting and that kind of thing, and the possessions of her room. I think possessive is the bad trait I'm going to go with, and I think she is. This is like a very unknowing thing for her. What did you do that is a source of inner turmoil and that the only person who left knows about you? Create a repressed trait that symbolizes your feelings about it down to the core. Decide if it's good or bad. I think like the shoplifting thing is for sure like the one thing that this other person knows about only. But I think she feels like quite empowered by it. And I think the repressed trait that symbolizes it is...
But who is the person that left?
Yeah. This person, oh yeah, so I think this person was, oh yeah, totes. So this person, I think was like her duet partner, for like, because like she's a cellist, and I think her duet partner was probably a viol. Yeah, probably played violin. Um, and I think like they probably did a lot of like performances together, and did, I think like the violinist was also a pianist, and would like, because when you do music exams, you always have like a pianist to accompany you on them, and I think like they were her like accompaniment on like her level cello exams and that kind of thing as well. Yeah, is that enough?
When they moved away, did you like, do you know why they moved away? Did they just move away? Like, was it one day they were just gone, or?
Ooh.
And what was their, or what is their name? Oh, I don't, I'm sure they're not dead, right? Or are they dead? That's up to you. It could be whatever.
Oh my gosh. No, I think they probably oh yeah, no, totes. They probably got like a music scholarship or something, or like went to the sort of moved town to go to the like a real fancy posh like music school. Kind of thing. So they totally
Juilliard.
Yeah. And what is their name? I'm gonna scroll up. Let's go for Fleur.
Fleur, okay.
Yeah. She'll be she, her, I think.
Okay. Cool. And then what was the repressed bad trait about?
About shoplifting. Or about the relationship.
Yeah, about her.
Oh. About her.
Your inner turmoil.
Probably like, is codependent a good one?
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good.
I think that kind of ties into like needing her for like all the music exams and stuff and that kind of thing. And
do you see that as a good or a bad trait?
Oh my gosh, that could go both ways. Probably a bad trait.
Bad? Okay.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Cool. And then now you get to be labeled.
Yay! I've been waiting for this.
I think like abandoned.
I'm going to say unavailable.
I'm going to say nosy.
Cool. Those ones are fun.
Yes, thank you.
Cool. So, last thing for each of you to do, bearing all the stuff that you have in mind, is make a repressed good trait about yourself. So it'd be sort of like the like maybe even like the heroic thing that might come out when you do turn into a robot and do your stuff. And it might inform what you might look like when you turn into a robot as well. It's up to you. Every time you turn into a robot, it's whatever you think it looks like. Oh, MH character keeper. Oh, cool.
What do you mean when you say it's repressed? Like we don't talk about it, or we don't think about it, or?
I mean, it only comes out when you turn into a robot. It's something that, think of it as something that may or may not be true about yourself. And when you turn into a robot, you sort of play to find out if it's true or not. If it is true, you can spend XP to convert the trait into. So one of your advancements is to change or add a good repressed trait, or to move one to a regular trait. So you can kind of like prove that it's right and then move it over, which is part of our like end of session procedure.
So I'm sorry, we're coming up with repressed trait, or what are we doing?
A good repressed trait. Just one. And you don't have to tell people what it is, but you need one.
We'll get secrets then.
Sure. Yeah, it could be a secret. Yeah.
It's like lift up. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Like one of the end questions is, did you prove a good repressed trait false? If so, change it. If you proved it true, then you mark XP. It also is important just because when you do change into a robot, those things come out, number one. And two, your repressed traits that are good also become kind of like your hit points. So you're using them as armor against your inner turmoil. Kind of.
I had one that works, but I don't feel like it has teeth, so I'm still thinking.
Sure. Yeah. What do you mean by freeform, Lauren?
I was thinking that crap, I'm blanking on the word. Like sight reading, spontaneity, music writing. That kind of like being able to
Like go with the flow?
yeah, go with the flow. Yeah, totally. Like
Improvisational?
yes, improvisational is probably a good one.
Okay.
Thank you, Patrick.
Sounds good.
Break time?
Yeah, it's on the hour for sure. Let's come back at 10. 10 after. Does that sound good? Cool. I will see you in a bit. Cool. Hello, everyone. All right. Get my thing open. Yeah, that sheet is great. Thank you for making it.
Sure. Let me know if there's any more like information fields that need to go in there at any point.
Sure. At a player level, the NO level of something that you face is literally just like your ability to say no to the world. It's like your power level in the game. You start out with none, but it goes up as you surmount important obstacles in the world, basically. And conversely, the NO of something that you face against you just means that they're more tougher and probably have like more HP or whatever, right?
Gotcha.
Um,
What causes our NO to go up or down?
it only will increase, at least at this conception point, and it will be you surmounting important obstacles in your life will increase the NO.
Okay.
Yeah. You also, just like in Monster Hearts, you'll mark XP when you fail rolls, because I'm all about that learning. And you also mark XP when you internalize how you choose to grow up, which is a subjective thing. So yeah, you'll mark XP when you think you have done that thing. And chances are it's probably not going to be a good thing for you. So you get rewarded for it. Let's see. What else do you guys need to know? So when you're rolling, how I would like this to work, we'll see if we have to go to like a tag system, sort of like City of Mist instead. But how I'm envisioning traits and labels to work and how I'd like to test it is you'll tag a trait in a scene, like you'll play into one of your personality traits and get a die for that. You'll play into one of your labels and get a die for that. And then when you tag additional things above and beyond that, it'll be +1, +2, +3, etc. on your roll for the modifier. We'll see if that actually works the fiction, though, because I could imagine possibilities where maybe you're not able to tag things, so I might have to refine that system a little bit more. And I'm sure that's why other systems like City of Mist might do the every time you tag something, it's just your bonus to the roll. But I'm particularly wanting to get this design to a point where when we roll dice, it's informing more about the character than just like the odds of chance of them getting to do a thing. It's stemming from the character more, so it's sort of like a rich dice mechanic where we get more information out of a roll than just the odds and stuff. Any questions about that? No? Cool. Move wise, so move wise, there's trying to get your way, which is how you'll be placing labels on other people. And then there's a move called use a label, which is when you take advantage of a label, you can get them to do specific things. And next time we play, I'll have a refined use of that, which will apply separately, I think, to NPCs and PCs, just to make it a little bit easier. And your sort of like defying danger-ish thing in this game is rejecting conformity. And or either rejecting conformity or rising to the moment, which is basically like the you do it despite you being afraid and stuff like that. So there's 2 pressure points on your characters. One is to conform to the grown-up world, which is why we established all the themes and stuff like that. And the other is just being a regular old teen that's going to be facing some weird stuff, especially if there's vampires in this world. Shaping the world is just kind of like spout lore-ish. Think of it like that, except that with instead of spout lore in Dungeon World, where you're asking the GM to give you some fiction, depending on the scope of what you want to contribute, you might be either asking the GM a question about the world or defining it yourself. And that'll be a kind of like a give and take situation within the world each time. And lash out physically basically is the same as Monster Hearts, basically. When you want to hurt people, then you do that, and that's how you cause the distress to people. Or you can run away from a situation. So you can choose when you take distress to internalize it and repress it as a bad trait. But when you have 3 of those, then you cannot repress it anymore. You'll take distress and eventually you'll overflow, if not in that moment. Then later it'll add up. And you can imagine that basically think of repressed bad traits in this game as tags that I get to play with creating like the bad things that come with you transforming into your robot. You're sort of creating your own problems with the more repressed bad stuff that you have, and also going to be kind of like symbolically combating the repressed bad traits as well. And then at the end of the session, there's a question if you basically when you defeat those things, that's potentially how you could increase your NO power, is by like defeating your own inner turmoil manifested as these weird things that are erupting from you as you transform into a robot. So it's going to be a weird game. The more I explain it verbally, the more I'm like, whoa, this is weird. What else? The second page of the moves on page 5, there's Fight Alone, which is a lot more of an abstract move to try to get one player to deal with a confrontation relatively fast, since it's spotlighting just one person. Conversely, we have Fight Together, which is like way more involved, and something I want to play test eventually during this series. But basically, if there's a really bad thing, you'll probably not have the NO level as a one person to take it on. Like think of them as like your Goku, and they have like a higher power level, right? Like no matter what you'll do, you'll never be able to take them on by yourself. But when you have your Fight Together move, that's sort of your agency as players to take on foes that are bigger than you and like do the teamwork dynamics and take them on and stuff. And the procedure of it is a lot more intense than most fight moves in PBTA, but it's because I want everybody to be involved in the role together. And then also features some like, whatchamacallit, like meta level teamwork stuff too, where you're trying to group your dice together in order to hit the bad guy and stuff like that. So we'll see if that works. And then there's Take a Powerful Blow, which is, if you look at any of the options under that, you don't want to take a powerful blow. It will fuck you up. Yeah, it won't be a good time for you. And then we have a move to just handle your the procedure for transformation, which turns your distress track into a harm track that you take, so that you actually take harm. And then what you should know about that is that if you fill up your harm track, then it's bad. You revert to a human form, you create a bad repressed trait, and you take a powerful blow at the same time. So you get messed up good. And if you notice all the move options, basically it just continues to snowball your repressed traits and pop them out, and sort of does its own snowballing effect of the moves by itself. If it works, we'll see. So any questions about the moves? Or the fiction that we're going for? Anything like that? Everyone's good? More or less. We'll just go in and see how it goes. Leap into the deep end.
Yeah, I was just thinking that it's like, okay, yeah, let's just try it, because I'm not sure where I might have questions yet, and the good way to do it is just play.
Yeah, so we'll do like a quick scene, I think, and then I want to do a little bit of feedback at least about the procedure of the startup, so I can get feedback on that. And then we'll, do that. So I think where we start out is maybe, do you guys think one of the ideas I had for why you guys naturally formed into a sort of way of knowing each other is maybe you guys walk to school together? That might be a way of bashing up your eclectic group. Or if someone has another idea, like if somebody has a ride and gives people a ride, or
Can we ride
whatever.
the train?
Sure. Like is it, what are those things called? Like at the middle of the road, like a trolley-ish thing?
Tram.
A
Tram or
yeah.
light rail or right.
Yeah.
Reading up a lot about this in the past week.
Yeah. Oh yeah. With your job, yeah. Here it's just the C train, but I don't know if the C actually means anything. Probably does. We just take it for granted. So are you thinking like a tram or like an actual train, or?
Well, it's one small town, right? So I guess a tram.
Sure. Well, it could even be y'all are in the small town, but take like this corporate little train not too far outside of town to get to this huge corporate school building or something like that too, right? However you envision it is
I
fine
just
with
think
me.
it should go by the river. I think the river is the defining point of the town in my mind. So
I sort of like the idea of being like a smaller town or a suburb or something, that we take this like bullet train, light rail sort of thing into a bigger, crazier place to go to school.
It's the Springfield monorail.
Yes.
Nice.
Hopefully
Okay.
with just as many musical numbers.
I don't understand that reference. What?
It's from the monorail episode.
Oh, of The Simpsons, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool. I'm glad. I'll have to look into that. I don't know. I haven't seen Simpsons since I was like in junior high, I think.
It was one of the old classic ones.
Oh. Okay, well, I don't know. I guess I just missed the boat.
Oh my god, we definitely get in like cylinder train cars that go through a hamster tube, sort of pneumatic tube style.
Okay. And yeah, so is the hamster logo, like I'm picturing a hamster in a wheel that's turning, and it's made to look sort of like endearing and like cute in some way. Like, is it fluffy or something?
Maybe sort of fluffy and chibi and big cheeks and eyes.
Ridiculous
It's
smile.
what Hamtaro is what I've been drawing on, yes.
Hamtaro. What is that? Hamtaro.
Google image search that. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's an anime. Oh gosh,
Oh, okay.
a hamster.
Okay. There's an anime about a hamster. Oh.
Yeah, and all of it's like little hamster friends, and they go on cute adventures and stuff.
Okay, so the logo is the hamster looking at you, all cutely, but within a wheel. Is that what you're picturing?
I sort of like the dichotomy of like the official corporate logo is that more like realistic hamster on a wheel, like not looking at you, sort of inhumane, but the way they've sort of logoized it up and branded it for any sort of thing that's not official company logo or whatever, is that like looking at you, isn't it adorable, that sort of shit.
Gotcha. Oh yeah. Nice. So they literally have two faces that they present to the world. Cool. I like, or yeah, kind of faces anyway. Cool. So I think we get the opening shot of you guys, I guess, in this cylindrical tunnel thing that goes through the wheels, is what you were saying?
Through a tube.
Yeah, it's sort of like a hamster guinea pig tube sort of contraption.
On your way to school. Nice. They're just so subtle in this town. Go to school, children, through the tube. Here's what we think of you. But I think today maybe there's like multiple stops or something like that, and we slowly get the kids filtering on like each per stop. And I think on maybe the second to last stop or something like that, there's usually a kid that doesn't get on that used to ride with you all, but today doesn't get on the bus, and it's sort of like the hubbub on the tube or whatever. They're like, where is? What did I put their name? Did I not make it? I'll just make it up, I guess. I thought I had one picked out. Let's go with, I'll just grab one of the names from your things. B. Let's go with Oliver. I think Oliver usually rides with you and is maybe like, one of your friends that is sort of like maybe not super inner circle like you guys, but is on the peripheral, like a little, orbit that sometimes is always trying to get into your space and stuff like that. I think they're kind of nerdy. They have big glasses with like a black frame, but like endearingly, it's like it looks cuter, and they are he, him, black hair, probably like rounded features, not like chubby or anything like that, but just like a rounded face. And otherwise they're pretty lithe, and I want to say that they wear lots of white because I think somebody else wears lots of black already. if unless you're subverting some goth stereotypes. Anyway.
No, definitely all the black.
Okay. So they were like the inverse and were like all white stuff. And yeah, Oliver doesn't get on the tube or whatever they call it in this small town this time. And an annoying kid, Aiden, is definitely an annoying kid. Yeah. It is the Chad of this. I think Aiden comes over to you all. I guess you guys maybe get on earlier in the stops, so you're lucky enough to get seats and stuff like that. Whereas other people have to like stand and hold the lines. But Aiden is the type of kid where, let's see, which one of you? Aiden snuggles in right in between Kit and Laszlo, probably. Like right in between there. And there's obviously no space for them. But he like kind of like snuggles in there, And he's like, did you guys hear about what happened to Oliver?
Laszlo, I think, is sitting on the window side, and he's got his headphones on already, and he's sort of like looking out the window like I'm not paying attention to anything going on here. And then Kit comes over and like starts squeezing in, and Laszlo is just like, I'm very much not paying attention to you, and you hear the sort of click 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 of the volume going up on the iPod as he's intensely trying not to be here.
Nice. What song is playing?
I think it's
Something
like
poignant.
I think it's like a remixed version of a Handel aria, something like dramatic and high and stuff like that.
Oh, nice. All right, the classical music, right? Cool. And maybe like in the background, we hear them piping in some like Miley Cyrus type shit or whatever, right? Like lightly over the intercom stuff. It only stops when the conductor makes an announcement for like the different stops, right? Then it comes right back on.
Just love Muzak, Party in the USA.
Yeah. Oh god, it's already so bad. Yeah, so you just turn up the volume. Cool.
And I'm like hunched up against the window. I totally have my space. I'm not paying attention to this.
Yeah.
I think it's even more cramped because I had pictured Kit with her cello on the tram as well.
Ooh, okay. Sounds good.
And if she were standing, it would probably almost be the same height as her. Almost like a little bit shorter. And it's probably like some of it's probably sticking out into the aisle. Some of it's probably like wedged as far as possible, like into the leg space between like her, so she's not totally obstructing like everyone's way, but everyone's for sure giving it like looks like, oh my god, like can't you just like I can't believe you brought that thing out there kind of thing. And so she's like even more like cramped up with like Aiden, and I think like the case is probably like, pushing into her knee uncomfortably. And she probably frowns and pouts at Aiden and says like, what do you mean?
I mean, everybody's talking about how he got into the internship at the plant, but it doesn't make any sense because the only kids that get that internship are the last whatever grade we're going with in this school. Since we have 3 different countries of middle schools.
Well,
grade 3.
Yeah.
Well, Oliver was pretty smart, right? Like he had glasses and things. Makes sense.
He had glasses and things. Way to stereotype. I have glasses too. Does that make me a genius? I mean, I'm not saying I'm not a genius, but
Laszlo just sort of on the window next to him, like, definitely not listening, laughing at something else, probably.
No, you're different. You're different, Aiden.
yeah, I'm different. So you say I'm stupid?
Well, kind of.
Well, that's really mean.
I mean, not in a bad way, obviously, but like not in a Oliver way. Like, anyway.
he's like, yeah, anyway, and he like pulls off his backpack, which is the pretentious, stupid, like they're really small and they're like the special forces backpack things, right? Like I don't know if you guys have that here, but it's like a passing fad here where they look like as if they're sort of army bags, but they're not utilitarian at all. Like they're small, they don't carry much, there's not like enough pockets and stuff like that, and it's just a cool thing apparently. And they like ride up on your body, right? It's like made to look as if in the movies when they're on a platoon and running or whatever with those backpacks hiked up.
Are they like the sack bags where it's just like kind of like just a bag with drawstrings so that when it's on your back it pushes it closed?
Yeah, exactly.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and like if it's not full, then it just folds over and then you just run with it, that kind of thing. Looks like a tube kind of. Yeah. I think it doesn't hold much space, and literally you're just funneling it down. So, especially as a school bag, it's like the stupidest thing you could ever want. Anyway, I digress. He like conspiratorially like leans into you, Kit, and he's like, I lifted this the other day, and I think we should go tag the back car where nobody's at. And then he like shows you in his little sock stupid bag thing. He like there's a black spray paint thing, and he's like, we can make the logo really chibi. What do you say?
Ooh. I think she's torn because like Aiden's super annoying, and
Like everybody's doing it. Everybody.
Well, if everyone's doing it, don't you want to be unique and different and do something else?
I want to be cool, and and this is cool, man. We're defacing public property or private property. This whole line's built by but we didn't actually name them.
Hamtaro Corp.
Yeah.
I think because like Kit sees Laszlo as like being quite secure and like a trendsetter and stuff, probably like leans across enough to poke like Laszlo in the shoulder to be like, "Yo, Laszlo, like, what do you make of this? Should we do it? You're cool."
I think on like the third poke, he finally turns away from the window, like just barely brings the headphones. What?
And he like moves the sock thing over and shows you the tag too. He maybe has like taggers have like those stencil things, right? Maybe he has a stencil of what it's gonna look like, and it's just like super chibi, cute looking thing. But he wants it spray painted in black. And then you've probably seen them like around town sometimes. Some kids are doing it. It is like cool.
And what? You're just gonna like hit some parked van or something like everybody's already done?
Oh man, we're gonna do it on this train right now. We'll hit the one that is in the back that nobody goes to. No one's ever in there, man.
I think Jackson says we could do the roof.
Oh, that's good.
That would be pretty good. Like people would see it as it was going through the town. I mean, that's not the best, but it's better than just like the wall of the train. We're sitting inside the train. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to do something like this, you got to make it cool.
I think
By the
maybe
way, Jackson totally was not part of this conversation. He just was totally listening in.
I think Jackson, you might be trying to get your way though. So let's see about that.
Okay. Do we have a roll for the party up?
Yeah, I got one here. It is nicely renewing hen. So let's see if this core die mechanic even works. What?
Okay, so then I choose relevant traits and labels is how this works?
Yeah. Take a trait and a label. Each of you, the first one should get you one die, the second one should get you a second die, and then additional ones should pile on to give you your modifier.
Okay. So I think that this is definitely skills.
Yeah.
I think this is eccentric because I'm totally like was not part of the conversation and yet like from out of nowhere just chimed in. I might even be childish with this, just kind of like not really having any awareness of like this is cool or not. It's just like this is, very, very innocently doing this.
Yeah.
I think maybe I'm curious. Maybe?
Curious about like who will do it or?
Yeah. Also like why people want to do this.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Because basically what you're establishing here, to be like transparent about the mechanics, is you're gonna establish if you get your way or not, right? And they'll react to you. But then after that, if people don't want to be doing this thing, they'll probably need to reject conformity as well. Because everybody else, if you roll well, you'll be establishing the sort of like main thing that people are going to be doing, right? So
That's neat.
Okay, so I tagged, what was it, 2 traits and 2 labels
yeah, so it sounds like at a +2.
at a +2. So it's so is it
one for one die, second for another die, and then additional tags is +1, +2, etc.
Oh, I see. So it's dice and the bonus. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you only ever take 2 things, then you'd just be straight 2d6.
Okay. So that is 6, 7, 8.
8.
So on a 7 to 9, you can either they can either give you a label or choose one of the following. So they get the choice.
Yeah, I think he turns to you and he like kind of smiles. Well, how did you intervene? Like, what do we see on the screen? Is it like were some people standing in between you two? Like, are you standing or are you sitting opposite of them and people were in the way and then suddenly they like parted and we hear your voice? Or how did you imagine interceding?
I think I'm on the other side of Laszlo. And like at no point did Aiden ever turn to me. Like the conversation was very much just Kid and Laszlo, and I think I was just like fiddling with like with something, probably like fixing a toy, and without ever looking up, I make the suggestion. So even I'm not like fully acknowledging the conversation.
Okay, cool. So I think he kind of like laughs and then looks you directly in the eyes and he's like, I'll do it if you will, which is promising something that he thinks you want.
Yeah, I get up and I head towards the back car.
Okay, so who wants to reject this notion? And probably a bad idea.
What could go wrong with getting onto the roof of a moving tram?
Yeah, as a middle schooler.
Well, I mean, I'm the cool one, and like I validated this plan even coming onto the table, so I can't back down now.
And I think if Laszlo is into it, then Kate is into it.
Peer pressure!
Oh my god, this is the most middle school already.
So what about Felix? How are they feeling?
I think Felix is uninterested in doing the activity, but interested in following and watching what happens. They were standing, holding on to the bar or whatever and reading a manga, and so they're just following behind, like they're at the back of the line or whatever, and they're just walking along still reading their manga. Like they assumed they were invited, but they're just not planning on participating.
Cool. Okay. So I think maybe the closing shot will be like you guys sort of like surreptitiously making your way from the like one of the back cars into through the doorways that leads to the kind of like unused one, like the unused uncool car that nobody ever gets into, of course, right? And there must be some sort of maintenance hatch or something like that that the guy like reaches into his army sack, Oliver does, and gets like probably just like a screwdriver or something like that, right? And like bashes at the lock.
No, you're hurting it.
At the lock?
Yeah. Jackson is very distraught over this.
I think he stops and he's like, it's just a lock, bro.
Yeah, I'm. Oh, what move would this be? Would this be get your way? This might be get your way.
You're trying to get him to not do that anymore?
Yeah, I'm trying to get him not to damage the lock.
He's sure. Okay, yeah. So roll that.
So I think this is me being eccentric
Yeah.
and childish and nothing else.
Sure. That makes sense. I agree.
10.
Wow, that's pretty
Well,
good.
11, but
You give
so
them a
I
label.
give them a label.
Oliver.
I'm going to give them
Oliver.
the.
Oliver's missing.
Pardon?
I'm sorry, Aiden.
Yeah, Oliver's missing.
Oh yeah, sorry, Aiden. Yeah.
I think Aiden is monstrous.
Monstrous. So cool. I like that. I think he gets embarrassed and acts awkward, right? Because he's like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "Do you have the key or something?" Like he does the face that kids give people when like they think that they're doing something wrong but don't understand why, right?
He is. I don't want to be the only one rolling. Like I could try to use conduit at it, but
Well, this might be a good thing to fade out on, and
yeah,
then we'll pick it up next time. So that way we have a little bit of time to do some feedback at least. Mark, were you gonna? It sounded like you were trying to say something before. Was it just that I got the name wrong?
Well, no. I mean, I was. I mean, if you were okay with it, I was willing to somehow have, with no explanation, have like the key to the lock.
Oh, cool. That's interesting. Sure, that can be a good thing that we fade out on even more then. So you
Okay.
just have the key?
Yeah, I have the key, which is kind of like a swipe lock, and
Cool.
I just swipe it, and whatever it is opens up.
Cool. So maybe the closing shot is the door opening, and there's like the light above, right, as the stairs leading up to like a manual go up thing is released, and this is all a great idea. So let's see. Nobody failed a roll, right? I believe. So at the end of the session, did you prove a good repressed trait false? If so, change it. If you proved it true, mark XP. We didn't get to that point. Did you defeat something that embodied or personified a bad repressed trait? If so, mark XP. We didn't get to that point. Did you use the established representative items during setup to reinforce the themes? If so, mark XP. I think everybody did that because it was the first session. So everybody contributed to that, so you can mark XP. Did we learn something new and important about the world? Yeah, a lot of stuff. All of the things, basically. So everyone could take mark XP for that. And finally, if you marked XP for internalizing how you chose to grow up during the session, tell the table what that means for your character. I don't think we got to that point quite yet either. So that is the game so far. So some questions I wanted to ask specifically that I wrote down, though. Number one, what did you guys think about the setup process of the game? Did you think that, for one, what I want to know mostly is, do you think that it establishes those two themes very well? And at a player level, do you think you, as a player, would be able to play on them and inject them into the fiction?
What are our two themes again?
Well, the counterculture and the grown-up world stuff. So the
Gotcha.
visual stuff that we got in. So like mostly for you guys, it's like aesthetic stuff, like the 16-bit music, video game, shoplifting, space, Scott Pilgrim, that kind of stuff. Versus what I'll be doing is the MC is probably pushing the mainstream stuff on you, right? And you'll be rejecting that stuff. But did you feel like the setup process did that?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Like, I feel we have a rich backdrop to pull on for like visuals in the world and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, I think we still like need to see more, but I think the brainstorming, I mean, we certainly got into the brainstorming of it, so that was good.
And what about just general feelings about the setup process? Was it like how did you feel in general about the entirety of the process for each of you?
Oh, you go first.
No, go ahead, David.
The one thing that I felt was a bit lacking was I didn't really feel like there was much to build our inner group dynamics. And I think that really helps flesh out the characters actually a lot, is to kind of have those questions that point us towards each other and away from each other, and kind of establish that. So to me, that was the big piece of criticism that I had, is I want to see more of those questions that establish is who we are as a group and how we interact.
Okay.
I just a thought. That could be achievable by like wrapping that into just when you label someone. Like I don't know, but I kind of dug how it was just like, nope, I'm labeling you this. But I could see like I'm labeling you like secure because of this thing that happened that led me to believe that you were like secure in your identity, Laszlo, kind of thing.
Yeah, like talk about the situation where that label came out.
Yeah.
Sure. So like have it so that you label someone and then you expound on it it's still like subjective, but it's why you're placing the label on them.
Yeah.
It tells a little bit about their history and how you view them and your history together.
Sure.
Although that does bring up a point of clarification. I took the labeling process as something that could be very meta game labeling. Kind of like, this is how you're seen, but not necessarily by my individual character. And that's kind of why I was throwing out some funky labels to, because I was trying to be like, okay, what's an interesting trait to balance this all out? But if it's really supposed to be how my character views other characters, obviously that changes the process.
Yeah, it's supposed to be for how your character in particular views that character.
Okay.
Yeah. But I like the idea of explaining the label as well. It might like hurt less or whatever too if you're doing a lead one.
Yeah.
I think what made it all start to come together for me is when you told us to think of things that were cool when we were this age. Like that was when the setting started to like I could grab onto something. Like I didn't have to have it be my cool thing, but so I latched onto other people's cool things, and then I've heard people latch on to some of the stuff that I came up with, and that makes me like really engaged, like to see the permutations that occur based off of how people interact that fiction with the choices that were the things that we've said were cool when we were that age. And I love how like two different campaigns of this could be radically different based off of just what I choose to remember or bring up in a conversation as to what was cool for me. So I just think that part's really good. I really like that part.
Cool, thanks.
I agree, and I love the like no shame, love what you love sort of approach to it.
Yeah.
Of like you get that disconnect of if you're ashamed about having loved it or still secretly loving it, you can be like, oh, this was my middle school self. Like we were all dumb then, so ha ha. But really, I secretly love this. Sort of thing. So you can like get your stuff out there with a little bit of a baffle.
I mean, I suppose this is just like the conversation is like, well, what was I actually into in middle school? Oh crap, this game could have been about Pogs.
Yep. I definitely had Pogs in middle school. I had the Spawn ones and I had the Gargoyles ones. The whole set.
I really dug the setup questions for the town and the counterculture, both in terms of the cool stuff that you get to weave in and do some cool weave into your character and weave into like the story. But I also like how they were thematically very focused on like these things have a deeper meaning to like what's going on in our society and stuff, and they were very like tilted towards exploring discourse, because I think that really channeled how I approach character creation in terms of like, oh, what themes do I want to explore with this character? I want to look at sort of like relationships and like femininity and what that means to like grow into like being a young woman kind of stuff, and like exploring that kind of thing. So that was, I think that helped like put my brain in a space for similarly exploring discourse and how that was going to represent like visually and fictionally, I guess.
Cool.
I think one of the things that really stood out to me was actually how the playbooks define themselves. They're not. It really, and this was what made it very hard for me to like really parse the playbooks at a glance, and it's a good thing. Is the playbooks are not based on like an external thing. They're all like an emotional state. And that's really cool and really different. So that's one of the things that I'm really excited to explore, is we're not really like defining what's it like to be like a werewolf, and the werewolf is a metaphor for this. No, it is all about that, like, the playbooks are really like that feeling when.
Yeah.
So that's cool to me.
Cool. Did you guys like your starting questions? And also maybe the procedure too that we did it in. Did people like the order that we did it in? And are the starting questions interesting enough to essentially stay?
I thought they were great.
I liked the character starting questions a lot. I was just reading back over mine. I think they're really pointed in interesting ways. I was going to say I could actually see more of those like leading sort of painful questions in the like counterculture town setup. Where the counterculture especially is like, let's talk about themes and general ideas. I like in the town how you talk about like, what is the shape of the building, like what does it represent that you don't have access to, whereas in the counterculture it's more just like, what are things you liked. I could use some more leading questions maybe in the counterculture of like, define down this particular aspect that we're gonna put visually into the world or something like that. But I thought the character starting questions were really killer.
Cool.
I think as far as the process, I actually like these split it up a bit more. Like everyone does their first one, everyone gives their second one, and it gives people a bit more chance to think and react and kind of grow it out.
Oh, so like you answer the first one and then the next person and next person.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it all, then you'd label them?
Yeah. Maybe harder. Yeah, maybe harder to remember, but on the plus side, I think it gives people more of a like, oh, okay, so this is how everyone is different from each other, and that I think that might make the labels really stand out.
Okay.
I was also gonna say I really liked the like eyes and look and fear choices. I'm looking through like I'm glad I picked my playbook because I think my playbook has the coolest eyes choices. But there are a number of really cool choices across all of those.
Cool. Thanks. Yeah, fear. I need to add the dotted lines to all of them so that people know that they can just make their own as well. Some of them have the underline dotted thing and others don't, which implies that you just choose one of those or whatever. So
Another thing I noticed is on the advancement. It's a minor thing, but all the playbooks say take another anchor move.
oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Common early draft mistake.
Yeah. They were all different, and then I changed one of the options, and then I just copied and pasted them all, right? So I was like, I'm not gonna oh well, obviously from the anchor. Cool. Change. Cool. Yeah, we didn't. I had some questions about the moves, how they felt, but we didn't really get to do them much. So maybe we'll just go to general feedback stuff. Or do people have enough time to do the stars and wishes?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. David, do you want to start with stars and wishes?
Yeah, so stars are things that I think went really well, and wishes are things I want to see coming up.
Yeah.
Okay. So stars, I think everyone really has like an evocative like concept of what all the characters are like, and really that, like I said, the playbooks are all about that feeling of being young and that individual aspect of those emotions. And I think it really feels like everyone took what's in the playbooks and is running with it, and I think that's really great. Um, as far as wishes, I want to be a fucking robot. I'm not gonna lie. I want to turn into a robot. I want to have. I actually really want to do like crazy ass robot combos. Are we going to Voltron it? Are we going to Transformers it? Like, honestly, that is one of the things that I'm like so wanting to see. So that's definitely my big wish is to get to be a robot.
Cool. Oh, I'm sure that will happen soon. Cool. Lauren?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Likewise. I have so many stars. It's a problem. Study for making this game, making it very sad and emotionally deep. I think it does exactly. I think like it delivers the vision you had for what this game was and draws from the source material like very well. I feel like I'm in fully. And yeah, stars to each and every one of my cohort for making amazing characters. I can visualize everyone really well, and I like how we're also exploring different facets of like our counterculture. And I just can't wait to play more of this game. I wish we could play more right now, but less. And yeah, I think Wish is I'm really digging seeing how messy our interpersonal relationships get. I guess particularly being like the proxy and being quite codependent and relying upon other people. Like I'm looking forward to exploring those uncomfortable themes, but healthy relationships. Yeah, so I think that's what I would wish to see coming up. Yeah.
Cool. And Mark?
I will also say that the character concepts are really great. I felt like I had a good window into who they were, and I think the way that worked out best was the room description. And like once I got the room and their look and some ideas, like I just imagined them sitting in their room, and that's almost where I thought you were going to start, was with us in our rooms. So, but like that's where I started in my head, like each of us doing our thing in the morning. So one thing that I noticed is that like Lauren's character has a very implicit character arc that she's asking for, where she wants to explore femininity and being a young woman and stuff like that. And I think that's really cool. And I was wondering if there might be a flag system where you can say, please have this interaction with my character, kind of thing, so that like you can be very explicit about how you'd like to maybe explore that with somebody. But
And that kind of has. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I'll be wrong, but I figured that's like kind of how the labeling thing works. So I could label you like I could give you a label that I associate with that person, kind of thing, and make you play into it.
Yeah, I mean that's I mean I chose what I thought was a particularly tough label for Kit to work with that exploration, but just I guess what I'm wishing for is at the beginning of the next session, I want to be reminded of what we want from each other so that we can push towards it. And if that's going over our labels or something, or last time on, or like what Primetime Adventures does, where it's like in the next episode, kind of preview kind of thing, those kinds of whatever technique you go with, that would be something that I would wish for, is something to remind me, here's how I want you to focus on my character. So
sure. I like that a lot. I'm all about start of session procedures, so I'll see what I can come up with.
Cool.
I think what could be cool, and I don't think I've seen it in a game though, but since this is a game specifically about like middle school and growing up and things like that, actually maybe even having like milestone questions, so players get to answer, like at the beginning of the game, what sorts of things they think they want to see happen to their character over the course of the game.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Cool. Mark, are you...
one more thing. Now that I think about it, how do I push towards my mission without telling at least you what it is? Like, what were you imagining me as a player doing?
Oh, yeah, I imagined you would tell
tell
me,
somebody.
And then I think in the fiction, it's perfectly fine to tell other people. I just wanted that air of mystery at the beginning, at least.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I'll hold on to that for a little bit longer then. Thank you.
Cool. And Patrick.
So stars, I love all the characters as well, both the playbook concepts, and it was interesting to see some of those playbooks play out in character creation, because there were some that I was like, I have a high level idea of what this is talking about, but I'm not quite sure. And so it was neat to see some of those, like the proxy and the bonded or the bound play out in character creation. I also like the characters people came up with. I think this is a fun group. Mark especially, I love the idea of just going out there for a vampire, whether it's aesthetic or whether it ends up becoming real in some sort of magical type way. I don't really care. I think it's cool either way. I just like the choice to really hold on to like, I think this is cool, I'm gonna do this, because that's very in the spirit of this game. Yeah, I'm just I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes, and I like starting it off with like a stupid prank stunt sort of thing. That's so perfect and on point. Wishes, I want to see like the weirdnesses or the extra normal bits or the sort of what the effect of this power plant and this weird energy that only the adults have access to, but presumably we need in some way. Like I'm interested in seeing how that energy or that force shapes the world and our lives. I'm also super into the like Scott Pilgrim feel of what's the soundtrack for this scene? How does that affect what's happening? How does it change the visual aesthetics or what we all feel or act like in the moment? I think that aspect's going to be pretty fun too.
Yeah, I'm really interested in it being kind of like a liminal space where it's like double dipping, kind of, where you're like satisfying your like meta self, but also being like, this is also cool for my character, and you're like puppeteering that.
Yeah, nice.
So yeah, yeah,
We're literally playing with our toys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why I wanted the setup process to be really meta, so that at a player level, we're all sort of like jamming towards these overarching themes, and then there's like the different layers. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Are you done? Yeah, cool. So yes, SARS for me is well. Thanks for everybody to give this a shot. I didn't quite know how to like pitch it on G Plus. I was like, what is the like one sentence of this? I'm not sure. So, yeah, I'm glad that it's so far doing what I want. There's already a lot of good feedback that I'll be able to make into, Mark II of this playtest document for next time. Excited to see what happens. And yeah, I'm really excited for people to turn into robots too, and what they look like and even sound like and stuff too, especially with I like the idea of you guys turning into robots, but in a counterculture kind of way, like, whereas most of the time a robot would be seen as like an automaton serving like the general good or whatever, right? Like a robot would be like someone working at a factory or something, like a drone, that kind of stuff. But instead it's kind of co-opting the concept into you guys being like counterculture people defeating your inner demons in this imaginative space that may or may not be even happening in the fiction, right? Like it could be the imagination of these kids, or it could be like a real thing, just like in FLCL, where it's like nothing interesting ever happens here, but yet there's a robot in front of him needing dough and shit, right? So yeah, I'm interested to see where we get to in the fiction, and I'm excited to continue to play test it, and stars for going through the like a fumbly setup process for the first time, because yeah, it was it's hard to codify a procedure for the first time. That's for sure. Wishes, yeah, maybe just seeing more uh, interpersonal character dynamics. I think that you're on point with the when you're placing labels. We could kind of do a twofer and get some more fiction out of it than just placing it and then moving on. Yeah, that'd be cool. So yeah, I'm excited for that, and yeah, that's it. I'm done. I'm gonna stop the broadcast here.